Welcome back. The Namibian economy continues to demonstrate unprecedented growth rates under difficult international economic situations. According to the latest data released by the Namibia Statistics Agency, the economy showed a robust expansion of 7.2% in the third quarter of 2023. This is an improvement from the 5.5% growth rate recorded in the same quarter last year. To give us an analysis on this, I'm joined by economist Solomon Hay. Mr. Hay, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Nina, and good evening to your viewers.
Mr. Hay, talk to us about the specific factors contributed, what specific factors contributed to the notable growth in Namibia's economy during the third quarter of 2023?
Well, I think this is quite a surprise. I mean, look, we have seen the growth in the primary sector, which obviously is the mining that you have alluded to. We know that there is now a move to diversify the economy in terms of perhaps not so much concentrating on the extractive sector, but what we are picking up is that the exploration within the oil and gas has really come back in a strong way as it relates to the mining sector. You would know that foreign direct investment have also shot up as a consequence of that particular attraction. The Orange Basin is currently the hottest ticket globally, and this is essentially where this growth is coming from. And mind you, this is just at an exploration stage. We have not yet seen the appraisal yet, or rather the appraisal numbers are not yet conclusive, or they're not yet in. So this particular growth rate will be with us for a while. We hope that by mid next year, we would have an idea of what exactly this number is in terms of the worth, or rather the oil discovery. You must also remember that on the back of this news, today we have learned that Dundee has acquired Osino Resources, which is a gold-producing mine, and they are anticipated to get on stream in 2026. So it has been the mining. Our attempt to diversify economy has not yet come to fruition yet. So the mining sector did contribute around 51.7%, as you rightfully pointed out. The second sector, or rather that has come in very strongly, is the agri sector, which is almost close to 20%. And is essentially on livestock marketing, and quite resilient, especially given the low rainfalls that we had. I think this is really what we would refer a follow through on the season in the livestock marketing, because we had not had very good rain. But if you compare to last year, so clearly the farmers and producers, they have done well in terms of feedlotting and that sort of thing. And remember that this particular growth come in despite the problems that we have observed within Midco. The other sector that's coming strongly is transport, which is quite a big number. They're almost close to 2 digits. It's 8.8%. Now, what we have seen is that there's been quite the number of people that have been landed, or that have been landing, or the arrivals at Sia Kutako have shot up again to the 30,000, 40,000 per month. So transport has performed relatively well in that respect. What we do see is that obviously construction has completely fallen off the cliff. They declined or contracted with almost 30%, which is quite a big number. And remember that the construction sector is one of those sectors that employ quite a huge number of our low-skilled labor force. We had hoped that some of the work that have started in respect of some of the, for instance, the green hydrogen on the Taurus projects, and some of those projects, one would have seen that maybe the construction there would have started to improve. You know, the government has cut back on the capital projects. You also know that, as you indicated, that household income has also not increased considerably. and remember that construction is driven by households being in a position to afford new houses, and this is despite the new Bank of Namibia regulation that scrapped the 10 to 20% on your second or third property portfolio. Perhaps this could have a lagging effect, so we might see improved in the second quarter of 2024. Manufacturing has also declined, which is not good for the economy, especially given some of the pronouncements that were made around no raw material being exported. I think policy imperatives should follow that, because when you do those sort of pronouncements, one want to make sure that the policy safeguards it. Now, manufacturing is an important sector because maybe as a country is still pre-industrialization, and subsequently you want to see some level of value addition, because the majority of the industrialization processes will take place within the manufacturing phase. So with that said, it's a sector that we really want to propel going forward. Health has taken a knock as well. And obviously, perhaps it's also on the back of some of the procurement issues at the CBB, where we've not been able to procure, or rather propel and make sure that that sector grows. So the long and short of it is that obviously this is a surprising number. It means that there could be an upward revision on what we had projected for GDP for 2023. There's also been an upward revision for quarter two, which augurs well. And what this particular growth means is that the economic activity has accelerated in those particular sectors. Historically, Namibia did not really have a growth problem outside of the COVID and then the period before COVID, where we took quite a dip. However, our concentration should be that our growth, or the 7.2 growth that we are posting, should become inclusive. And when I say inclusive, it means that we should create jobs. It should make sure that it doesn't only end at the exploration stage in terms of the mining. It must go further, because remember that previously we had these huge numbers in mining. They didn't translate into actual jobs, but rather just on exploration. So we hope that when the appraisals comes in, this particular growth can translate into inclusive, where the majority get absorbed into job opportunities, and subsequently have more disposable income, subsequently see the level of growth that we are seeing in mining in household income. Yeah. Because then you would see demand, and subsequently you would have more hands facing goods and services.
Thank you so much. I wanted to ask also, government expenditure on goods and services also showed low minimal growth of 0.3%. What does this tell us?
Well, one is that remember that we are coming into what government has termed as fiscal consolidation, where government is sort of trying to bring down debt, and subsequently it's not expanding. You must also remember that the growth in wages have also have been growing at a much lower rate than inflation, right? So what it means is that on that aspect as well, it's got a direct impact on the sort of increases that government usually provide to its employees. So it means that government services has obviously, in terms of economic activity, not grown at the levels before, because of trying to bring down debt and subsequently making sure that they balance the books. So that's essentially what it means.
Mr. Hay, are there any external factors, such as global economic trends or regional dynamics that impacted Namibia's economic performance during this period?
Well, one would have to look at the sectoral differentiation in that respect, because, on the regional and global economic factors, I think mining has not been impacted. Like I indicated, that the Orange Basin is the hottest ticket globally, and subsequently that has worked in our favor. Remember, on the back end of that is this whole green energy and where there are certain quotas that refer to the oil industry as a sunset industry, but clearly that's not happening given the sort of numbers that we are seeing coming through mining, and especially on the oil and gas side. So global economic factors in terms of a just transition don't really have an impact. What you do see, not necessarily what you can pick up in this particular number, is that the inflationary component that has come through the global geopolitical turmoil, if it were, did have an impact, and it has an impact in perhaps on government services where inflation has outstripped the increase in wages and subsequently household income being curtailed. In terms of the ESCOM scenario, which is now regional, where perhaps power has been a problem, I think that has not impacted us severely. We had a few here and there. Remember that there was an incident where Power wanted to cut off certain SOEs because of non-payments, and that's through the loop in terms of the feedback in some instances where perhaps there was pressure on them having to meet the obligation with some of the suppliers, this being ESCOM. So in terms of the Ukraine-Russia conflict, that has sort of, we have seen the worst of that in terms of how food prices shot through the roof in terms of wheat. There's been contingency measures that have been brought in and different suppliers have been sought, and subsequently those impacts are sort of being managed. The recently Gaza-Israel conflict as well, I think has not had a huge impact in terms of the current economic activity that we are seeing. There were a few concerns in the beginning, how that will play itself out. You would also know that we had now a decline, or rather a price reduction in prices for petrol and diesel for December. Although this is the fourth quarter, we're speaking of third quarter. So the geopolitical tension have sort of fell through the equation of it, if it were, and subsequently did not really have a big impact. It's encouraging to see the sort of growth that we are experiencing in Namibia. You would also know that our yields are currently more attractive in relation to South Africa, and perhaps the bigger concern now for us is, do we have enough investable instruments that will be able to attract the appetite that we are currently enjoying and actually have a return on that appetite that we are having. So I think
which leads me to my, pardon me, which leads me to my next question. You did say, of course, that it's encouraging to see such growth. I absolutely agree with that. But what potential challenges or risks should be considered going forward, and is this growth sustainable?
Well, and that's the question, because remember, I started off by saying that there's been a huge push to try and diversify the Namibian economy out of the extractive sectors. One of the important things is the policy certainty that we need to get in terms of the local content as it relates to the oil and gas sector, which essentially drove this particular growth in the mining sector. That content is still being developed. And remember that you want to make sure that there's direct benefit to Namibians as it relates to this new sector that's bringing so much hope. Remember that oil is not the first commodity that we have discovered, and we have not covered ourselves in glory with previous discoveries. But we hope that the local content get brought into practical operation quickly to be able to make sure that what accrues to Namibians and how can we build industries out of the proceeds that we're going to enjoy from the discovery of oil and gas. So whether it's sustainable will come through some of the sectors that I've spoken to in terms of the value addition that we want to see. I think there was a pronouncement made around no raw material or raw commodities to be exported, but you want to make sure that that sort of pronouncement is being followed by clear policy direction. And currently that does not happen. And so it does still leave room for going through there's high potential opportunities that at the end of the day we might not realize. But over and above that, I think as a country, we are at a place where we have not been in the past 3 to 4 years. Things are looking good. We are one of the most attractive investment destinations in the world, not on the continent. And but we need to make sure that at the domestic level, we are able to safeguard and turn this into a net effect for the Namibian people.
Mr. Hayes, such a pleasure speaking to you this evening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
That was economist Solomon Hay on the line speaking to us.